Hi, this is Fihan. The internet is a wonderful place. In my opinion, the Polish speaking part is great, and thanks to AI, I can bring you some content in a slightly more accessible way. Today, I'd like to share another video focused on personal finance. In my opinion, managing your own money wisely is one of the most important skills out there. That's why I'll always recommend content that helps us become more aware of our finances and shows us how to take better control of them.
Today has finally come, the day everyone has been eagerly waiting for, payday. You have surely heard of the golden rule of personal finance. Pay yourself first. So, eagerly, what are you spending on? A daily takeaway coffee with a cookie. Well, that will be 20 bucks, which means 400 PLN monthly. All those books from my Allegro card. Well then, 200 PLN will be gone, a weekend with the family. Goodbye my favorite, but rarely seen 500 PLN bill. Then there's gas, well, expensive groceries, because obviously something else is needed, preschool. And wait, where did my money go?
A lot of people probably face this kind of problem at some point in their lives. I think it tends to show up most often at the start of their journey with earning money and learning how to manage a personal budget.
Many people face this problem every month. If you also experience something similar, it might be because you don't have an established routine. Actions after payday. With such a routine, you'll take care of the most important pillars of your finances, gain greater financial peace, and finally start feeling that you have control over your finances.
I wouldn't call it a full-on routine, but I've developed a set of actions I follow after every paycheck. And honestly, it really helps keep my spending in check and gives me a clearer plan for the weeks ahead. It also gives me a moment to breathe, something I used to miss back when things felt a lot more chaotic.
And after just a few paychecks, handled according to this system, you'll see progress in your financial goals. In this video, I'll reveal exactly what is worth doing with your money on payday. I'll show you step by step, a simple routine that you can practically start implementing right away. And since we're talking about right away, if you haven't done it yet, immediately give a thumbs up under the video, subscribe to our channel, and be sure to click on the bell so that not a drop of financial knowledge escapes you in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. Before we start, a very brief disclaimer. This material is created with beginners in mind, and very beginners at that. If that's not you, because you've been watching us for some time and have your finances beautifully managed, I have a huge favor to ask of you. Do a good deed and send this video to someone who will benefit from it. All right, let's get started. According to a study conducted in 2024 about the savings of Poles, only 57% of respondents saved any money last year.
Even back when I was making very little money, I always tried to save something. It might sound silly, but I just hate the feeling of being broke. I'm totally fine with skipping out on something now if it means putting a bit aside, maybe for something more meaningful down the line.
This is a significant decrease, as just a year earlier, as many as 72% of those surveyed reported having savings. And now I know you can't pour from an empty cup. Many people simply earn too little to save anything. On top of that, things are expensive in stores. It's easy to talk about saving when you have something to save from. I was once in that situation too, and I know how quickly, within a month, our paycheck can be gone. That's why today I want to talk about what you can do to prevent that from happening. And establishing a strict routine after getting paid can help you with this. Now, your payday routine doesn't have to be a very complicated and exhausting process. Of course, each of us is very busy. We have families, work, passions, dreams, all amidst the hustle and bustle of life. No one has time to create very complicated systems. And you don't have to either. All you need are just 3 jars. Imagine that your paycheck is like these blocks. The moment you receive it, your money is white. It's a blank slate from which you can truly make anything. And the routine after getting paid is nothing more than assigning each of these blocks a specific color. Each color represents 1 jar, meaning a broader group or category of expenses. And now, many financial experts suggest that right after receiving your salary, you should immediately allocate money to savings and investments.
It's actually something I do right after payday too. First step, a transfer to my investments. It's not a huge amount, but it's something. Then, once the money's there, I spend a few days researching companies, or just adding to the ones I already hold, following the strategy I said earlier.
And it makes a lot of sense. But in my opinion, when we are complete beginners, it is very difficult for us to clearly determine how much we can afford to allocate to savings and investments. That's why I propose a slightly different order. And now I'll tell you about it. Jar number 1, where pink blocks are placed. This is the jar you will definitely empty first. And it contains your most important expenses. Expenses for necessities. And no, I don't mean a Netflix subscription or buying a new dress or shoes. Dave Ramsey, the American personal finance guru, calls necessities expenses for our 4 walls. So what exactly are the expenses that go into this jar? It's about food, and of course, I don't mean dining out on lobster, but rather typical groceries from Lidl, Biedronka or Dino, our most important bills, rent, transportation, commuting to work, things like that. Think of it as the floor and walls of your home. These are very important and basic matters without which you won't be able to function. Because if they cut off your electricity or you don't have money to commute to work, then your great financial plan will simply collapse quickly.
That makes a lot of sense too. Most of us have a pretty good idea of our regular monthly expenses, rent, bills, and other fixed costs. It's not exactly a surprise, so if you stay mindful, it's totally doable to set some money aside.
Once your needs are taken care of, we move on to the second jar. And this will be the famous pay yourself first. Before I came across Marcin's materials, I genuinely thought that this rule meant that after getting paid, I should finally buy everything I couldn't afford in the previous month. Well, unfortunately, this rule is about something entirely different. The previous jar was our 4 walls and floor. This jar will be our foundations. Can you build a house without foundations? Well, theoretically you can. But if you don't have them, or if they are weak, then the whole structure will eventually collapse. I mean, that's what I suspect, because I'm not a builder. If there are any builders here, let us know if that's actually the case in the comments. This jar represents your financial goals. So what are these goals? Well, it all depends on what stage you are at in your financial journey. If you have debts, then a goal would certainly be to pay off those obligations. If you're saving money for your emergency fund, a safety cushion, well, that's also an important financial goal. At later stages, it will be money set aside for your savings, investments, long-term goals, and the like.
I used to not really get the whole pay yourself first idea. I thought it just meant setting aside some money for stuff I couldn't afford last month. Basically, extra spending cash. But I was way off. That money isn't for blowing, it's for future me. It's a way to ease the load of future debt or simply to have a bit more peace of mind in 5, 10, or even 20 years. And when that time comes, future me might finally buy that thing I didn't get last month. Because I decided to save instead.
Now, does any of your paycheck end up in this jar? I'll answer you in a moment, but before I do, let's get to the last one. Jar number 3 is my favorite jar, the jar of desires. To continue our construction analogy, this jar will be like the roof of our house. If it's not there, rain will fall on our heads, and that's because life without this category of expenses would simply be very sad. That's why blocks end up in the jar of desires. Yellow, like the rays of the sun that warm our lives every day. To it, really, is what we have left. After securing the other categories, which are our needs and financial goals, the rest of the money can be allocated to whims. So it's in this jar that the money for coffee in the city, new shoes, a trip to the cinema, a new plant for the living room, and my books from Allegro ends up. And those supermarkers that make such cool dotting. So everything you can really do without, but which adds flavor to your life.
It might sound silly, but in my case, the jar is mostly for little treats for my kids. So my son can get a new Hot Wheels car, or my daughter can bring home another tiny unicorn with glittery wings. And honestly, I'm fine with that. I know that as they grow older, there will be fewer of these small expenses, and maybe then I'll finally treat myself to something I've been putting off. But for now, my wants can wait. Their smiles come first.
And that's it. 3 jars. 3 most important categories of expenses, and you're conscious. Division, how much you allocate to each of them. These 3 steps are our entire basic routine after payday, which first secures your most important needs and financial goals, and second, allows you to continue enjoying life. And what happens when you plan it out like this? Do you remember that chaos on the table right after payday? After these arrangements, you immediately know what you're building, and before you know it, you'll have something like this. Here is a beautiful house. And this house represents consciously set priorities for your money, which will finally stop slipping through your fingers, allowing you to start building your financial security faster. Let's now move on to the question that surely popped into your mind, which is how to properly determine the proportions of money in each jar. When I started taking care of my finances, This was one of the biggest challenges for me. And I'll now share with you what I did because I feel it might be helpful for you. To have a starting point, I used a model percentage division, as mentioned by Rami Sethi, an American law expert on creating a rich life. And this rule is 50-20-30. It is based on the idea that half of your salary, or 50%, goes into the needs jar, 20% into the financial goals jar, and the remaining 30% can be spent on wants.
That's an interesting breakdown. I should probably run the numbers myself because honestly, it sometimes feels like I'm spending way more than 50% just on rent, bills, and the bare essentials. Up until now, I've been trying to budget everything in my head, but maybe it's time to get a bit more serious about it.
And for me, this division worked very well at the beginning. But I still strongly encourage you to do some reconnaissance, which means dedicating 1 month to thoroughly understand your expenses, to determine how much money actually goes towards your needs, and then consciously decide how much money after your paycheck you pay yourself, meaning the second jar, and how much really goes to others, meaning the wants jar. Finally, I have a tip for you on how to turn this routine into actual action, meaning a simple and practical system. Because let's be honest, physical jars or envelopes in the 21st century can be a bit of a hassle. Not to mention that it's a bit scary to keep your entire paycheck somewhere under the mattress at home. So what are the more modern solutions? Firstly, of course, the household budget. In an app or Excel, you create a sort of mental accounting where you assign tasks for every dollar. Then the money can physically be in one account and you have it written down on paper which goes into which jar. But if you don't have the time or desire for that, well, no one is forcing you. Just simply create 3 accounts. One account from which you will pay for your needs. The second account can be, for example, a savings account, or if you already have your investment strategy, an investment account. Bonds or an IKXE account, which will be our second jar, meaning financial goals. And third, a completely separate account from which you will cover your whims. So you have 2 separate debit cards and meticulously, you make sure to pay with the necessity card for needs and the whim card for whims. And if you are really serious about your finances, then don't overpay for bank accounts. Be sure to check out our blog ranking cont at marciniwuć.com/ROR. And that's how the whole system looks. Simple, colorful, nothing left but to implement it. I'm very curious about what routine you have after payday. Be sure to let me know in the comments. Also, write what topic I should cover in the next video, or simply leave a comment to support us in financial education. For polls. Thanks to your comments and thumbs up, our videos reach more people and help them manage better finances. And thanks to this, we all live better, so it's worth it. If this topic is interesting to you, be sure to check out this video on budgeting. I explain in it how to manage it simply and without stress. See you on the other side. Bye. 3 jars. No, the other way around. Work it out for me. I need to arrange it, so that it looks nice now. Can I do it like this, or will it look really silly? Here, because I still need this. And once it's unnecessary. Well, for the carob.
I don't really see myself as a finance expert or someone who's super organized when it comes to managing a household budget, but I get by. Deep down, I guess those basic rules were always somewhere in the back of my mind. And this video just confirmed that keeping an eye on everyday spending isn't some impossible task. It's actually pretty doable. Hopefully, at least one person out there finds these tips helpful and sees the value in them. That's it for today's video. I hope that over time I'll be able to bring you even more content like this. Or maybe something even more interesting. As always, all the links to the original video and the creator's channel are down in the description. Take care and see you next time.